And we're live. Greetings, friends. Happy Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we Western. G-Lash with the thumbs ups. Appreciate you, friend. Miko says, hello, Superantonio and Sadie. Hello, mods. Greetings, everyone. And greetings to you, Miko. How are you, friend? David is here. David says, howdy, folks. And hello to J-Lash and Miko. Greetings, David. Thank you for being here early. Appreciate you, friend. How's your week going? Happy Wednesday, all. David says, there he is. Plug it in my phone. Spent all day and most of last night taking flying lessons. What's that about? Flying lessons in GTA 5, that is. And I'm really appreciating, one, the genius of Rockstar, and two, the genius of Grand Theft Auto 5. Because we fly in our dreams. And this game allows you to fly. It's so ingenious and perfect, you know. I mean, there are flight simulator games, of course, but here is a game that just, you know, it just throws it in there, you know, and you have to commit crimes and all that and everything else that, but it's just, I think it's just part of the mass appeal of this game. Chrissy's here. Chrissy says, hi, everyone. Greetings, Chrissy. Glad you're here. Chrissy has a heart emoticon for Davey, and Davey has a heart emoticon for Chrissy. One would think they know each other. What's that about? People will say we're in love. How's your week going? How is everyone? Chrissy says hi to Super Antonio and Sadie. Sadie says hi to you, Chrissy, and she's glad you're here. What was I going to say? Okay, tonight we shall be discussing one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies, Blazing Saddles. Not technically my absolute favorite. My absolute favorite would have to be Young Frankenstein, but Blazing Saddles comes close. And it's a Western, and it's very silly. 9 viewers in the chat. Let's get started. Blazing Saddles is a 1974 American satirical postmodernist Western black comedy film directed by Mel Brooks, who co-wrote the screenplay with Andrew Bergman, Richard Pryor, and Norman Steinberg and Alan Unger, based on a story treatment by Bergman. The film stars Cleveland Little and Gene Wilder. Brooks appears in two supporting roles as the governor and a Yiddish-speaking Indian chief. He also dubs lines for one of Lily von Stupp's backing troupe and a cranky moviegoer. O-Dog is here. Greetings, O-Dog. Appreciate you, friend. Happy Wednesday. The supporting cast includes Slim Pickens, Alex Karras, who was in The Exorcist, and David Ruddleston, as well as Brooks regulars Dom DeLuise, Madeline Kahn, and Harvey Korman. Band leader Count Basie has a cameo as himself, appearing with his orchestra. The film is full of deliberate anachronisms, which I love, from the Count Basie Orchestra playing April in Paris in the Wild West to Slim Pickens' character mentioning the wide world of sports. The film received generally positive reviews from critics and audiences, was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, and is ranked number 6 on the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Laughs list. In 2006, Blazing Saddles was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. Mel Brooks is a national treasure. He's 98. And Godspeed to him. The plot is very silly. There's barely a plot, but I'm going to talk to you about it. We're going to read it. On the American frontier of 1874, a new railroad under construction will have to be rerouted through the town of Rock Ridge to avoid quicksand. Realizing that this will make Rock Ridge worth millions, Territorial Attorney General Hedley Lamar, it's Hedley, plans to force Rock Ridge's residents out of the town and sends a gang of thugs led by his flunky Taggart, to shoot the sheriff and trash the town. The townspeople demand that Governor William J. Lepedemain appoint a new sheriff to protect them. And I want to talk about the name Lepedemain. There are pictures of him in the slideshow. It's a reference to Joseph Pujol from 1857 to 1945, who was better known as his stage name Lepetomaine. He was a French flatulist or professional fartiste and entertainer, to quote Wikipedia. He was famous for his remarkable control of his abdominal muscles, which enabled him to seemingly fart at will. His stage name combines the French verb péter, to fart, with mané, or maniac, which translates to fartomaniac. The profession is referred to as flatulist, farteur, or fartiste. Also, it was a common misconception that Pujol passed intestinal gas as part of his stage performance. Rather, he was allegedly able to inhale or move air into his rectum and then control the release of said air with his anal sphincter muscles. He was well received and had an act that appeared in Moulin Rouge in 1892. Some of the highlights of his stage act involved sound effects of cannon fire and thunderstorms, as well as playing O Solo Mio and La Marseillaise on an ocarina through a rubber tube in his bottom. I'm sure you can say anus on this channel, but I prefer bottom. He could also blow out a candle from several yards away. His audience included Edward, Prince of Wales, King Leopold II of the Belgians, and Sigmund Freud. What's that about? Okay, so now you know all about Lepedemain. Hedley Lamar, it's Hedley, persuades dim-witted Lepedemain to appoint Bart, a black railroad worker about to be executed for assaulting Taggart. A black sheriff, Lamar reasons, will offend the townspeople, create chaos, and leave Rock Ridge at his mercy. After an initial hostile reception in which he takes himself hostage to escape, and that scene, if you know the movie, is based on a real-life incident when Mel Brooks was a kid, when he was like 9 or 10, and he shoplifted a squirt gun in New York. And when he was caught, he did that act where he held the squirt gun to his face and to his head and threatened himself with harm. And the store owner laughed so hard that he let him have the squirt gun, let him keep it. And it's a nice touch, a nice reference. And it just shows what a genius Mel Brooks was and how funny he was, even as a young child. He was a prodigy of humor. Bart relies on his quick wit and assistance of Jim, an alcoholic gunslinger known as the Waco Kid. Jim, as you know, is played by the original Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder, who's also Dr. Frankenstein. Bart subdues Mongo, an immensely strong and dim-witted yet philosophical henchman sent to kill him, and then outwits German seductress for hire Lily von Stupp at her own game, with Lily falling in love with him. Lily was played by Madeline Kahn. Upon release, Mongo vaguely informs Bart of Lamar's connection to the railroad. So Bart and Jim visit the railroad worksite and discover from Bart's best friend Charlie, that the railroad is planning to go through Rock Ridge. Taggart and his men arrive to kill Bart, but Jim outshoots them and forces their retreat. Furious that his schemes have backfired, Lamar recruits an army of thugs, including common criminals, motorcycle gangsters, KKK men, and Nazi soldiers, and also Methodists. East of Rock Ridge, Bart introduces the white townsfolk to the black, Chinese, and Irish railroad workers who have all agreed to help them in exchange for acceptance by the community, and explains his plan to defeat Lamar's army. They labor all night to build a perfect copy of the town as a diversion. When Bart realizes it will not be enough to fool the villains, the townsfolk construct copies of themselves. Bart, Jim, and Mongo buy time by constructing the Governor William J. Lepedamine Thruway, forcing the raiding party to send for change to pay for the toll. Once through the toll booth, the raiders attack the fake town and its population of dummies, which have been booby-trapped with dynamite. After Jim detonates the bombs with his sharpshooting, launching bad guys and horses skyward, the Rock Ridgers attack the villains, with Lily singing with the Nazi soldiers. The resulting brawl between the townsfolk, railroad workers, and Lamar's thugs literally breaks the fourth wall. This is one of my favorite parts of the movie, and bursts into a neighboring movie set where director Buddy Bazaar is filming a Busby Berkeley-style Top Hat and Tails musical number. Dom DeLuise played Buddy Bazaar. The brawl then spreads into the studio commissary for a food fight and spills out of the Warner Brothers film lot onto the streets of Burbank. Lamar Headley escapes the brawl and takes a taxi to hide at Mann's Chinese Theater, which is showing the premiere of Blazing Saddles, and he orders Raisinets. As he settles into the seat, he sees on-screen Bart arriving on horseback outside the theater. Bart blocks Lamar's escape and shoots him in the groin. Bart and Jim then enter the theater to watch the end of the film. Back in the film, Bart announces to the townspeople that he is moving on because his work is done and because he is bored. Riding out of town, he finds Jim still eating popcorn and invites him along to Nowhere Special. The two friends briefly ride into the desert before dismounting and boarding a limousine, which drives off into the sunset. And that, my friends, is the plot, such as it is, of Blazing Saddles. It's barely a plot. It's mostly just gags. Gag after gag after gag after gag. It's very funny, very offensive. There's absolutely no way this movie would ever be made ever again, especially not, now. But it's a wonderful movie. Moving on to the development, the idea came from a story outline from Andrew Berkman that he originally intended to develop and produce himself. I wrote a first draft called Tex X, a play on Malcolm X's name. He said Alan Arkin was hired to direct, and James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, was going to play the sheriff. That fell apart, as things often do. Brooks was taken with the story, which he described as hip talk, 1974 talk and expressions happening in 1874 in the Old West, and purchased the rights from Berkman. Though he had not worked on a writing team since Your Show of Shows, he hired a group of writers, including Bergman, to expand the outline and posted a large sign, "Please do not write a polite script." Brooks described the writing process as chaotic, and a quote, "Blazing Saddles was more or less written in the middle of a drunken fist fight. There were five of us all yelling loudly for our ideas to be put in the movie. Not only was I the loudest, but luckily I also had the right as director to decide whether I was in or out." Bergman remembers the room being just as chaotic, telling Creative Screenwriting, "In the beginning, we had 5 people. One guy left after a couple weeks. Then it was basically me, Mel, Richard Pryor, and Norman Steinberg. Richard left after the first draft, and then Norman, Mel, and I wrote the next 3 or 4 drafts. It was a riot. It was a rioter's room." The original title, Tex X, was rejected to avoid it being mistaken for an X-rated film, as were Black Bart and Purple Sage. Brooks said he finally conceived of Blazing Saddles one morning while taking a shower. And you can argue that Blazing Saddles is another fart joke. And there are a lot of fart jokes in this movie, despite there's a famous campfire scene, and of course William J. Lepedamine. Richard Pryor was Brooks's original choice to play Sheriff Bart, which makes sense with the chemistry between Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder was great. They made, I believe, 2 movies together. I'm only thinking of Silver Streak, but they did another one. But the studio, claiming his history of drug arrests made him uninsurable, refused to approve financing with Pryor as the star. The role of Sheriff Bart went to Cleavon Little, and Pryor remained as a screenwriter instead. Brooks offered the other leading role, the Waco Kid, to John Wayne. John Wayne declined, deeming the film too blue for his family-oriented image, but assured Brooks that he would be the first one in line to see it. After that, Dan Daly was Brooks's first choice for the role. Gig Young was cast, but he collapsed during his first scene, which was later determined to be alcohol withdrawal syndrome, and Gene Wilder was flown in to replace him. Johnny Carson and Gene Wilder both turned down the role of Hedley Lamar before Harvey Korman was cast. Madeline Kahn objected when Brooks asked to see her legs during her audition. She said, "So it's that kind of audition." Brooks recalled, "I explained to her that I was a happily married man, and I needed someone who could straddle a skirt with her legs apart, like Marlena Dietrich in Destry Rides Again. So she lifted her skirt and said, 'No touching.'" She's so much like her character. I mean, it was a naturally funny cast. Filming took place, principal photography began on March 6, 1973 and wrapped early in May 1973. Brooks had numerous conflicts over content with the Warner Brothers executives, including frequent use of the word N-word. Sorry, algorithm. Lily von Stupp's seduction scene, the cacophony of flatulence around the campfire, and Mongo punching out a horse. Brooks, whose contract gave him final cut, declined to make any substantive changes, with the exception of cutting Bart's final line during Lily's seduction, which is it's completely in the dark. You know, it's like it's true. Lily's like very excited because she's in bed with Bart, and and she says something like, "Everything I've heard is true," because she had a lisp. And Bart says, "I hate to disappoint you, ma'am, but you're sucking on my arm." O-Dog is playing Diablo 4. O-Dog, that was, I'm glad you're here, and that joke was for you, old friend. When asked about the many N-word references, Brooks said he received consistent support from Pryor and Little. Richard Pryor and Cleavon Little. He added, if they did a remake of Blazing Saddles today, they would leave out the N-word, and then you've got no movie. Brooks said the use of the N-word was to show how despised, hated, and loathed the black sheriff was. Brooks said he received many letters of complaint after the film's release. Brooks wrote the music and lyrics for 3 of the Blazing Saddles songs, The Ballad of Rock Ridge, I'm Tired, and The French Mistake. Brooks also wrote the lyrics to the title song with music by composer John Morris. To sing the title song, Brooks advertised in the trade papers for a Frankie Lane type singer. To his surprise, Frankie Lane offered his services. Frankie sang his heart out, quote, "And we didn't have the heart to tell him it was a spoof. He never heard the whip cracks. We put those in later. We got so lucky with his serious interpretation of the song." The choreographer for I'm Tired and The French Mistake was Alan Johnson. Alan Johnson worked with Jerome Robbins on West Side Story. And it is an homage to and parody of Marlena Dietrich's performance of Cole Porter's song I'm the Laziest Gal in Town in Alfred Hitchcock's 1950 film Stage Fright, as well as Falling in Love Again from The Blue Angel. And then there was a lawsuit, which I love. This is so funny. During production, retired longtime film star Hedy Lamarr sued Warner Brothers for $100,000, charging that the film's running parody of her name infringed on her right to privacy. Brooks said he was flattered and chose to not fight it in court. The studio settled out of court for a small sum and an apology for almost using her name. "It's Hedley. Brooks said Lamar never got the joke. The lawsuit would be referenced by an in-film joke where Brooks's character, the governor, tells Lamar, "This is 1874. You'll be able to sue her." The film was almost unreleased. We screened it for executives. There were a few laughs, said Mel Brooks. The head of distribution said, "Let's dump it and take a loss." But studio president John Calley insisted they open it in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago as a test. It became the studio's top moneymaker that summer. Well, 18 viewers in the chat, welcome, friends. On Wednesdays, we Western, talking about Mel Brooks tonight. And my foot's asleep because someone is on it. What's that about? While Blazing Saddles is now considered a classic, critical reaction was mixed upon initial release. Vincent Canby wrote, "Blazing Saddles has no dominant personality, and it looks as if it includes every gag thought up in every story conference. Whether good, bad, or mild, nothing was thrown out. Woody Allen's comedy, though very much a product of the age of analysis, recalls the wonder and discipline of people like Keaton and Laurel and Hardy. Mel Brooks's sights are much lower. His brashness is rare, but his use of anachronism and anarchy recalls not the great film comedies of the past, but the middling ones, like the Hope Crosby Road pictures. With his talent, he should do better than that." These critics, what are you going to do? Roger Ebert gave the film 4 stars out of 4, calling it a crazed grab bag of a movie that does everything to keep us laughing except hit us over the head with a rubber chicken. Yeah, that I would agree with that. It's just joke after joke, just, a mile a minute. It's like a Rodney Dangerfield, there's Lepedamine, a Rodney Dangerfield monologue. It's just, if the last joke doesn't make you laugh, the next one will. And, the jokes are coming a mile a minute. There's verbal gags and visual gags and physical gags. It's a work of art. It's genius. It's a masterpiece. Mostly it succeeds. It's an audience picture. It doesn't have a lot of classy polish, and its structure is a total mess. I agree. But of course, what does that matter while Alex Karras is knocking a horse cold with a right cross to the jaw? Oh, it's a different Alex Karras. Alex Karras played Mongo. Gene Siskel awarded 3 stars out of 4 and called it bound to rank with the funniest of the year, adding, "Whenever the laughs begin to run dry, Brooks and his quartet of gag writers splash about in a pool of obscenities that score belly laughs if your ears aren't sensitive and if you're hip to Western movie conventions being parodied." Charles Champlin, Mama One is here. Everyone say hi to Mama One and Papa One. Charles Champlin of the LA Times called the film irreverent, outrageous, improbable, often as blithely tasteless as a stag night at the Friars Club, and almost continuously funny. Gary Arnold of the Washington Post was negative, writing, "Mel Brooks squanders a snappy title on a stockpile of stale jokes. To say that this slapdash Western spoof lacks freshness and spontaneity and originality is putting it mildly. Blazing Saddles is at once a messy and antiquated gag machine." Jan Dawson of the Monthly Film Bulletin wrote, Perhaps it is pedantic. It is to complain that the whole is not up to the sum of its parts. Win for the curate's egg that it is. Blazing Saddles contains so many good parts and memorable performances." That is a wonderful forward and backward comment. John Simon wrote a negative review of Blazing Saddles, saying all kinds of gags, chiefly anachronisms, irrelevances, reverse ethnic jokes, and out-and-out vulgarities are thrown together pell-mell, batted about insanely in all directions, and usually beaten into the ground. Led Zeppelin 16 from the land of ice and fire says, "It's been a while. Greetings, Led Zeppelin. You don't know, on Wednesdays we Western now." we have a open discussion on our favorite Western movies. Tonight is Blazing Saddles. Awards and accolades. While addressing his group of bad guys, Harvey Korman's character reminds them that although they are risking their lives, he is risking an almost certain Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Korman did not receive an Oscar bid, but the film did get 3 nominations at the 47th Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actress for Madeline Kahn. In September 2017, Brooks indicated his desire to do a stage version of Blazing Saddles in the future. That was when he was 91. He's 98 now. I don't know if that's coming. And there was talk about a TV show. A TV adaptation. Oh, interesting. It was. A television pilot film entitled Black Bart was produced for CBS. It featured Louis Gossett Jr. as Bart and Steve Landisberg as his drunken sidekick. Other cast members included Millie Slavin and Noble Willingham. CBS aired the pilot in April of 1975. And the pilot episode is later included as a bonus feature on the Blazing Saddles 30th anniversary DVD and Blu-ray disc. And that, my friends, is Blazing Saddles. Let's bring Sadie back. I had a quote I was going to do at the beginning that I forgot about. Please. Let me see if I can find it. How's everyone tonight? Mama 1, what's for dinner? And David, what's for dinner? I had a big salad again. Not because I wanted a salad, just because I have a lot of salad ingredients that I got to get rid of before I can get back to. Oh, here it is. This is the town mayor. He's like talking to the citizens of Rock Ridge. And he goes, "What are we made of? Our fathers came across the prairies, fought Indians, fought drought, fought locusts, fought Dicks. Remember when Richard Dix came in here and tried to take over this town? Well, we didn't give up then, and by gum, we're not going to give up now." I just thought that was funny. Fought Dix. Chrissy says baked stuffed potatoes. I love stuffed potatoes. I love potatoes. What's not to love? Yeah, I still, I've got like half a bag of spinach left, so I got to eat that before I can move on to my, my regular teriyaki steamed veggie dinners / lunches. Odog says, stir-fry steak with rice and peppers. That sounds delicious, Odog. I am missing protein. There's Lepidamine. And there's the mayor, or the governor. So, yeah, I spent all day and most of last night doing flying lessons for GTA 5, and it just made me appreciate the game so much more, because we dream of flying, and this game allows you to do that. And it's just, it's not exactly, it's not an Easter egg. It's essential to gameplay and to the plot, but it's just such a wonderful activity to just add to the game, in addition to driving around and shooting everyone and just all this general bad behavior, just the wholesome idea of just, you can just open up the game and fly around if you want. Mama One says dinner was hamburger steak, fresh ground beef, slaughtered 2 days ago. Wow. I've never had ground beef that fresh. Handmade mashed potatoes, corn, carrots, Brussels sprouts, and cheese. Biscuits, homemade homemade biscuits and homemade brown gravy and homemade chocolate chip cookies for dessert. That sounds delicious, Mama One, as always. I've had fish that fresh. Well, even fresher. Fresh out of the ocean. The freshest sushi that you could ever imagine having. But yeah, not beef that fresh. Led Zeppelin says some chocolate chip cookies sound so good right now. Yeah, I'm sorry you're not over here, Led Zeppelin. Well, we could share. 19 viewers in the chat. Welcome, friends. I do love Bart's horse, Palominos. Palomino horses were my first love, I think. I love that golden color, that golden coat. Lily von Stupp. Papa One says, Mama One's meals made me happy for sure. It's been a rough day working with the horses. It's emotional today as we had a guest and they are leaving tomorrow. The best ranch hand we ever had. Almost like a little brother to me. He's my version of Sean Maguire. Well, at least you get to say goodbye to him and it doesn't end like chapter 3. Yeah, I can to me, the flying in this game just adds to the appeal and makes me understand why this game is so attractive and has such a loyal following. Rockstar is really able to inspire like loyal followings and communities in their games. What's that about? Free Roam Fridays returns on Friday. We'll be talking about, I don't know, I'll figure something out. I thought about doing another Trapper outfit. Saturday, we are going to be discussing Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker for Saturday movie night. And then I'm not sure what we're going to do for Sinister Sundays. You will be happy to know, Mama One, that Gary Ridgway's stream was not demonetized. David says Spaces out Saturdays. You can do Spaceballs. Use the Schwartz. Yeah, I was thinking of Sci-Fi Saturdays. However, for Sunday, it's like it wasn't, as much as I love you and I was happy to do to have a birthday stream for you. It wasn't the most popular stream. It didn't do well, either on, like initial views or on replays. But, it's like very heavy and emotional content, I think. And true crime appeals to a very specific set of people, I think, audience. And Mama One says, awesome, more serial Sinister Sundays. Well, I'll figure something out. Chris says, oh my gosh, David, favorite movie, Chrissy, Spaceballs, are you talking about? Then we'll absolutely do it if you're talking about Spaceballs. Let me know. I'll make a note of it. Mom One says, I'm kidding, but true crime is more niche. It sure is. Okay, I made a note of it. Bart. Princess Vespa. Bart, that's John Candy. He's passed away. And then Joan Rivers was the C3PO lady, and she's passed away. David says, I'll recite that movie backwards. Papa One says, yeah, he's former Amish, from strict old order Amish. They are always so strict, and they have a lot of... he was 17 when he moved in with us. It was back in 83. I was 34. Well, he's an old friend. And sometimes I think the universe provides, you with father figures, or it's like you become friends with someone older, and they become a father figure or an older brother figure, even though you're not related by blood, but you create a bond. Papa One says, my dad and him bonded. My dad liked him more than me, honestly. They both had hard childhoods. I'm not going to lie. We had to work hard, but I had a luxury childhood compared to Dad. I have a Grand Theft Auto commentary coming out, I believe, at midnight. It's available for members, channel members, O-Dog, David. But yeah, part 3. Not much happens. We see Tanya and tennis lessons, where we pull down the house, which sets the whole plot in motion. And then in real time, I have to do those flying lessons for Trevor's caper. We've done one with Michael, where Michael planted, and we did one with Trevor, so I assume we'll do one with Franklin. It would just make sense. But yeah, we did I stole the submarine, and then Michael has to do flying lessons. So I just decided I want to learn how to fly in this game, so I'm taking my time and just doing over and over to get it right without filming anything, just so I don't have the pressure of filming. Which, it's interesting. Gameplay adds pressure to your style of gameplay if you are recording at the same time that you are playing, which I wasn't really aware of until I stopped recording myself playing. Because for like the past four years for the history of channel, I've recorded basically everything I've done on the PS4, and you play differently when this is going to be, that people are going to watch this, and that's odd. So I can, like with the flying, I can make more mistakes. I can actually learn how to do it. There's less pressure on me. Mama One says, GTA 5 gives me road rage even more than real life. I think GTA 5 is designed to do that, Mama One. Just take to the air and fly. Papa One says, my dad didn't like his dad because he could smell a bad man. My dad finally told him, let the kid come work with us. We will pay him. If you don't do this, remember, I carry a gun and you have no ties to the government. There's Mongo. It's a running joke that everyone in the town is named Johnson. Yeah, take to the air and fly. Because we fly on our dreams. And it was genius of them to realize that. And to make airplane flying as just another random activity that you can do. I mean, if you like motorcycles, you can ride a motorcycle. If you like driving, you can take the boat out, the jet ski. Papa One says certain Amish don't have Social Security, birth certificates, or any ties to the government. Yeah, they're trying to be truly off-grid, I imagine. Which also means they're not taxed. That's a pretty horse. And Papa One says, always wish I could make our farm a religion and have a tax exemption, but you might have a better chance, Super Antonio. Well, I bet that's one of the reasons why you can become a licensed, become a licensed priest or whatever online, so you can perform marriages and stuff, and you can maybe get a tax exemption of some sort. I got a cousin who used to do that. I suppose I should ask him. Then, I was talking about it. I think I talk about it in this this commentary. They all kind of blur together, everything I do. But I realized that I know 5 people, men, but you're not allowed to say men, who fly, who have their pilot's license, including a UPS pilot. He's ex-military, and the other ones have their, I don't know what it's called. It's like an amateur pilot license, so they can fly like the Cessnas and the 2-seaters. But the ex-military guy, he can fly like actual planes. Including, I know someone who's taking flying lessons right now as we speak. He might be up in the air right now. So my point was, I've been around, flight, pretty much my whole life. And it's never occurred to me that this is something I want to do. And it still doesn't. I'm enjoying learning how to fly in the game, but that doesn't mean I want to take lessons and learn how to fly in real life. Flying to me still is an inconvenience. I love to travel, but I really wish we could just teleport. I'm much more about the destination than the journey. Flying to me is just a big inconvenience. But it's fun in Grand Theft Auto. Where's your dog? 18 people in the chat. Welcome, friends. Appreciate you being here. Happy Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we Western. Mel Brooks, very quotable. I also like the producers. Papa One says, my God, when government got really involved in horses, it was a nightmare. My dad just for years paid people to let him slide and just give him a license to train, breed, and sell. But when he died, the government got caught on because of it. all being changed over to me. I paid a small fine. My dad knew many of them when it started, but they told me they wouldn't let me slide, but they would not charge me a huge fine. I could have been in a lot of trouble, but now our licenses are indefinite because we are past 59. The age is now 65, but we were grandfathered in. Well, that's good to know. Someone's licking off all the SPF. Yeah, my favorite Mel Brooks movie is probably Young Frankenstein. He did a Hitchcock parody called High Anxiety, which I kind of like. But you have to be really into Hitchcock. I mean, I don't think it's dated well, but if you like Alfred Hitchcock, you'll like High Anxiety. Mel Brooks. He's 98 now, and man, he looks 98. Spaceballs was from 1987. Robin Hood Men in Tights, 1993. History of the World, Part 1. High Anxiety, 1977. He was in Hotel Transylvania. Dracula, Dead and Loving It. And he won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony for the producers, which, I don't know him, but I'm very proud for him. It's like, okay, here, I'm trying to find his filmography. Life Stinks. Yes, Glynis Coleman's here. Everyone say hi to Glynis Coleman. Greetings, Glynis. Channel member, Glynis Coleman. Here's another quote. Brooks said that the film has to do with love more than anything else. Speaking on Blazing Saddles. I mean, when a black guy rides into that old western town and even a little old lady says, "Up yours," N-word, sorry, algorithm, that his heart is broken. So it's really the story of a heart being mended. Brooks described the film as a Jewish western with a black hero. I think we might have to do Young Frankenstein as well. Then High Anxiety was Brooks's parody of Freudian psychoanalysis, as well as the films of Alfred Hitchcock. It satirizes such Hitchcock films as Vertigo, Spellbound, Psycho, The Birds, North by Northwest, Dial M for Murder, and Suspicion. Brooks plays Professor Richard H. Harpo Thorndike, a Nobel Prize-winning psychiatrist who suffers from high anxiety or vertigo. Glynis says hi to Chrissy and David, and Miko says hi to Glynis, and so does Mama One and Papa One. Glynis, thanks for watching that short. We have another GTA commentary that is available for channel members and should be available for everyone else at midnight. I have been watching, it's an old sci-fi series from 2006 called Eureka. Has anyone watched Eureka? It's from Sci-Fi Channel, but it's on Amazon Prime. I think there are 4 or 5 seasons. But what I love about it is it's a town full of geniuses that's set up by the government. It was founded by Einstein in the 50s. And it's in the Northwest, of course, because it's filmed in Canada. And and it's just basically a think tank for like all these inventions and it's like there's a sheriff who's like a former he's a like he was a U.S. Marshal. He kind of stumbles into town. He gets into an accident with his teen daughter, and so they kind of get adopted by the town, and he becomes the sheriff of it. But it's interesting because the problems that are solved, it's a comedy, sci-fi comedy. They solve problems with creativity, intellect, and science. It reminds me of Star Trek, especially the Next Generation. But all the Star Treks, except it's Earth based. It's not space based. But it has that optimism of that you can solve, that the future is going to be bright, and that you can solve every problem with a combination of science, intellect, and creativity. But I highly recommend it. It's very wholesome. It's a fun show. It's a little, and it has a little romance too. A little bit of everything. Mama once says, "Oh, Glynis says Eureka is great. Wish it had gone on longer." I'm loving it, Glynis. I remember watching it like random episodes as just when it was on, but I never watched it all the way through, and I never knew about the overarching plot. So I just started season 2. Mama once says, "I love summertime. Best hunting, fishing. Hunting is good in winter too, but cold hurts the arthritis." And Glennis says, "I'm sweating. It has been about 96 here the last week." Yeah. So I watch Eureka and I practice my flying in GTA 5. That's been my day, the past 2 days. Chrissy says, "Same, Glynis. We are so over it. The weather and the heat." Glynis says, "I can take arthritis. My knees and shoulder kill me every winter." Papa once says, "Does anyone know anyone who raises donkeys?" All I know is Seamus's donkey. We got a male donkey who's old. We just got him in a horse trade. They threw him in for $50. Mama One wants to save him and find him a rescue. Come back. I'm talking to the dog. There she is. Say hi to Glynis. Papa one says, "I mean, he's old. He's like 50. Donkeys live for 50 years? That's crazy." Donkey age. Age span. 27 to 40 years. With lifelong proper care, donkeys can live well into their 30s, with the average lifespan of being 33 years. That's crazy. Can a donkey live for... Certainly some individual donkeys do live to 40 and beyond, but many donkeys are showing signs of old age in their early 20s. Didn't Samson use the jawbone of an ass? Yes, it's from Judges 15 to 16. "And Samson said with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass, I have slain 1,000 men." Chrissy says, donkeys run wild here, which is weird considering we are the city. Papa One says, according to the internet, they live 28 to 40 years, but this thing is ancient. He's still got all his sight and all. According to his papers, he's 50. He's in decent health, but old. He hates my farm dogs, and they don't like him. Yeah. I'm not sure what to... I wish we could introduce him to Seamus's donkey. That's all I can think. And, you know, Papa One says, Mama One will rescue any animal except rats. You know, I would tell you to, like, paint some stripes on him. But you know how that'll go. Papa One says, Chrissy, what part of California? If worse comes to worse, I will make a drive there and set him free. Be free, little donkey. And that is an excellent spot to stop for tonight. That's about all I have for you, friends. I always enjoy these little chit chats we have after movie night. Shout out to the mods, Mama One and Papa One and David and Chrissy and Odog and Miko. Thank you for being here. Channel member Glynis Coleman. Everyone enjoy the rest of your week. On Wednesdays, we Western. We shall return again for Free Roam Fridays. Grand Theft Auto stream or Grand Theft Auto commentary, you know about that. And I'm just going to get back to flying and watching Eureka. Enjoy the